Namaste. It's with great gratitude that I've now started to look forward to these opportunities to share, because it gives me the motivation and the impetus to work and to put my life under a magnifying lens. So thank you for being here. Today's topic is, well, it's a difficult one. We'll make it real, humorous, with your help. The topic is the war between integral health and adverse forces. And I want to add an initial inquiry, because that's what it is for me. So before we start, I seek your prayers, I seek the Mother's blessings, that when we interact today, what comes out is of meaning and relevance to us in our own journeys towards health and yoga. Health is not a topic that we all don't know about. We all know about it. Some days we feel very healthy, very fit. And there is no one here, I guess, who hasn't felt an off day sometimes. Some fever, some cold, some pain, some ache somewhere. So we all know what illness is, right? Very familiar to both of us, all of us here. So if we really look at, the general notion of health, what is it? Initially, it was being free from disease. That's all it was mentioned as. And then we said, no, it's not just free from disease, it's mental well-being, emotional well-being, it's social well-being. And when all of the forces are in harmony, that's when a person is actually healthy. So then we've gone beyond the body, and we've gone into emotions, the mind, our social relationships, the forces around us, and how all of that contribute to our illness or our wellness. And if we start embarking on this journey of trying to be healthy always, oh wow, what an ambition. And that's the journey of yoga. Hard if you want to be free from illness or disease always. But yeah, worthy of aspiring. So why the term war? And why the terms integral health and adverse forces? Let me share the experience of a peer mother whom I have known off and on over the last decade. She has a daughter who is now giving her 10th boards. But about 8-9 years back, she was diagnosed with arthritis, early onset. I met her at a playground. I was generally talking, and she talked to me about this challenge. And she talked about how her life is now revolving around, so many different hospitals, doctors, tests. How the doctor has prescribed very heavy medications, the allopathic route, steroids, because when she's in pain and she has an attack, it's unbearable. A lot of strong medication, and so the child is weak, looks much younger than her age, And very sweet child, very talented child. When you speak to her, she shows so much joy, and the body is suffering. So, from my history, my family has got this arthritic gene flowing around through the generations. And a few of us have had an early onset too. Mostly it happens post, but. So there was a little bit more awareness from the place that I came from and the experiences that I had. And I realized that my family experiences say that, if you can go the integrated or the alternative medicine route, there is a possibility that the body will recover rather than being pushed down into further suffering and ill health. I shared it with her, shared a few numbers with her. She dismissed it totally. She told me, all of this, homeopathy, Ayurveda, naturopathy, it's a very long drawn approach. When that girl is crying and when she's in pain, we have to give the medication, we have to stop the pain. As parents, we can't see this suffering. She was right. It's painful to see your own loved ones suffering. So, somewhere then our connect ended. Didn't really end, it paused. We would talk to each other every now and then, and she would talk about the same thing. And every now and then, that voice will come back. Just give her the contacts of a few alternative practitioners, and I would do it. 2 months back, I met her. And this time she decided to take a walk with me on her own accord. And we were walking, which means we had a good 1 hour together. And then she started to talk. And she said, it's been such a journey for me. I have never been exposed as a person to something like this. Growing up, child fell ill, you took him to the doctor, some medicines were prescribed. Over a week or so, or whatever, the disease is cured. But in this case, she came back home from school. This is when she talked about the genesis with a small pain. We thought maybe she's twisted her ankle, she had run in a race. We put some Iodex, gave her a hot water bottle, simple things, right? It didn't go. A week later, it's still not gone. Then the doctors gave her anti-inflammatories, and gradually, over a period of 3 to 4 months, is when they diagnosed that this was early onset arthritis, and it's going to be a long time. And she said, I have gone from doctor to doctor, hospital to hospital, medical practitioner to practitioner, and the mainstream allopathic experience now for me is, no, I don't want to douse this child's body with so many medicines. And at that point, this was 2 months back, she had stopped steroids. There were still some medicines that were being given. She was trying other things. And she said she's learned so much in the last many years of parenting this child about her approach to life, her approach to health, her approach to medicine, her approach to how the body heals. It's been a very tough and a very huge learning experience for her. If you were to really visualize, each time the child may have had what could be called an attack, the house becomes a war zone. If you even go back to any of your homes wherein somebody is unwell, the germ, the infection, the illness, the disease, if it becomes severe, is the adverse force. It's an adverse force otherwise also. And the family and the patient are fighting to cure it, get rid of it. If it becomes very difficult, the whole family gets involved. Even if a person develops a high fever, 103, 104, you know that you're going to get on to a routine which has to bring the fever down. And then there is the journey of the people involved in facing the illness, in facing the adverse force, and their learnings, and if I may say, their increased awareness about life and a certain challenging of their own thoughts and beliefs that they are forced to do, which then helps them widen their consciousness about what they have always thought to be true. This mother went through this journey. She had a certain belief about medicine, about parenting. When she saw that her daughter wasn't recovering, that her life is just becoming all of this, and all the doctors can do is subside the medication, the pain. But the moment the pain is subsided and you take this, the body is reacting and not growing because of the strong medicines or the steroids that it's under. So the steroids that were the medicine gradually became the adverse force. You see how life changes moment to moment? And the mother who initially felt the best thing to do was to give these strong medicines had to step back and realize, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing for my child. I need to read, I need to educate myself, I need to go beyond what is considered mainstream medicine so I can fulfill my role in this relationship. And so she started to make a switch, she started to reduce steroids. Now what happens? The rest of the family is surprised. How can you do this? And there's immense resistance that can come from some sections of family and friends. Well, she stayed determined because she had read enough, understood enough, she had faith in her newly acquired knowledge. And in some time, the child started to grow. She hit some milestones which she needed to hit. And the girl herself realized that the medicine is pulling me down even though it's reducing the pain temporarily. This is a child of about 12, 13, 14, 15 when all of this was happening. The child has grown in their understanding of their body and medicine. A very tough lesson very early. And now, when the rest of the family says, this is a pain, just give the high medicine, the doctor says, no, I don't want it. I'll go through this because my body will recover, it will heal. I don't want this medication. She's learned through her journey. The mother has expanded in her understanding of what is health, what is illness, what is wellness, and what is the journey from illness to wellness. It has been a drastic 360-degree shift. Her faith in different forms of medicine has shifted. She's still going through the shift. The journey continues, but the daughter's giving her 10th board. So there is proof. And there is the will to heal, the will to become better and not be succumbed by something that has hit very early when the child is still quite weak and immature. And the mother says this in many different ways, that you have to have the will to be healthy or to not want to feel unwell. The first important thing is your will, my will, their will. I'll read something. The Divine Mother says, I may destroy the adverse force that has possessed you. I may repeat the action 1,000 times. You must put a strong will for getting rid of your illness, and you must remain quiet and unperturbed by the results. The two are not contradictory. That is why I say, wake up the will to conquer. So this will is a quiet force that says, I won't let this illness overtake my life. I will lean into faith, I will lean into positive energies. I will believe in my body's capacity to heal. The previous narrative, just because of the way the world has gone, put forward, that allopathic doctors may not be able to treat early onset arthritis, of course. That doesn't mean that that form of medicine is not useful. It's very useful, it's needed. Even if you go to allopathic doctors or you go to hospitals, they'll say, we'll do everything we can, but the person has to have the will to recover, the will to get okay. And that'll help them. When they smile, when they look forward to becoming okay, we can only give medicines. And this was, of course, a serious early onset disease that I talked of. But if we just look around, and I request you all to just think, have we come across people who are deeply suffering? Yes. But who just seem to be complaining about their ill health, about their symptoms, about something or the other, almost on an everyday basis. You talk to somebody, they'll say, oh, I have a cold. The next day, the cold became, of course, a very big cough. Then the cough became some kind of a chest infection. That was treated. 2 days they were okay, and they say, oh, I was okay. I'm so okay now. That was such a bad time. And within 2 days, something else has hit them. All of us, I see the smiles. We may have come across, or we may have gone through this phase ourselves. There is intense suffering because the person is not aware that by constantly talking of the illness, the symptoms, the disease, they are opening this door wide open and saying, come illness, get me, come. And the mother says that whenever you feel you're coming down with an illness, just shut it out. It's not the exact quote, but she says, just close it, disagree with it. Don't start talking of it as if it's hitting you. Just close it. Say no. Say no to the illness. Say no to whatever is coming. And have faith and be quiet inside yourself. And call in the mother, call in the faith that you have within you. Because what that does is that it increases your will to be well. And that's a very powerful force that we can cultivate within us, the will to be well. Previously, and I'll narrate a very recent episode. I had to travel somewhere, had to leave, catch a very early morning flight. My flight got delayed because of some technical snags, so I was in a hurry to disembark once we reached the destination. So I pulled out my bag and I did something very awkward, a muscle pull. wasn't vigilant, wasn't careful, and just a small lapse. All of us have had these muscle pulls, and oh, my ankle hurt, or my knee hurt, or my ankle got twisted, something. So here's a back muscle pull. And where am I headed? I'm headed as the only representative from my side of the family for a wedding for just 24 hours, which means I have to be very present. I have to be very there. I can't just go and rest. And I'm thinking, oh no, this is not good. I have to be well. And an earlier version of me, if I have this muscle pull, would probably try and put some cream, maybe have a painkiller. If there's a spray, I would put it because I want instant relief. Now, this was just a week back, and I knew I had this satsang. I said, come on, be authentic, experiment. So I said, okay, this is a back ache. It'll go. It's just a smile, minor pull. And I said, Mother, help me. I promise not to overeat, overindulge, overdance, overdo anything. But you help me, because the next 24 hours, I want to be there and enjoy myself. And I repeated that prayer. And I didn't need to take meds. The pain went. I forgot about the muscle pull, very important. I remember to do simple stretch exercises, very important. We all forget what is very important and very simple, even though we know. And no problems. No problems as long as I didn't overindulge. And that's important, that we don't overindulge ourselves. And, I encourage you also to experiment. When you see the smallest symptom, it's weather changing, everybody will come down with a viral or the flu or a cold or a sore throat. It's normal, right? So either we can talk about it, tell everybody about it, go take some medicine, or we can refuse the entry and say, okay, you've entered a bit, but now it's refuse, and seek faith and be sensible and not go pick up that ice cream or, do all the other things that open the door further. I want to read something. The mother in 1971 shares, it's good to do exercises and lead a simple, hygienic life. But for the body to be truly perfect, it must open to divine forces. It must be subject only to divine influences. It must aspire constantly to realize the divine. It is in good health that the way towards transformation is found. And we all know our body, if it's not healthy, very tough. Good health is very important. And all of us will succumb to some illness or the other, will have some illness or germ or the other. But what do we do when we do have that illness determines the progress. How we heal, how fast we heal, how quickly we heal. And in the case of chronic ailments like this one that I earlier narrated, what is our journey of life and beliefs as we help either ourselves or somebody else heal? That journey becomes very important. And hence, even that illness becomes a stimulus for our own introspection, awareness, going deep within, or what we may call a spiritual journey. I attended a workshop some time back, and it was being conducted by a doctor and who believes a lot in the mother. And he said something very interesting. He said, most of us, all our life, all our schooling, even as medical practitioners, we are not trained to become in touch with our bodies. There is no somatic awareness. We don't go within and see what's happening. We don't be in touch with our bodies. We see everything as a set of symptoms to either be shut down. We abuse our bodies. We take our bodies for granted. The body keeps telling us different things through pain, through some other symptoms, and we ignore it repeatedly. And if you really see, we are in a culture that facilitates us to ignore what our body is very gently, very persistently telling us. Let's look at work lives. I can talk to you about mine. If it is a corporate work life, then we get up early, we have to hit work early. There are meetings. You may forget to have breakfast in a rush. You may forget to have lunch, or you may take a very small bite, abuse the body. You may reach home to have a very indulgent dinner because you've been hungry all day. Oh God, now it's not just your body, your stomach is screaming, but this is how we lived, and everybody seems to be living that way. So there's a culture of we'll work very hard now. It has to be not just productive, overproductive. And our body is abused. And I thought it was okay. Everybody is doing it, I'll also do it. The body is strong, I'm young. The body ages very fast if you do these things to the body. The body will whisper, there'll be a slight headache, Croson. You'll feel hungry, you take a sugar drink. And he said very beautifully that a single strand of DNA in our bodies, cells, has much more intelligence and wisdom than all the libraries put together in the world. And you ignore that single strand DNA whispering to you continuously, persistently, patiently saying, I need you to treat me well. And then you say, oh, I have an illness. So we are surrounded by belief systems which act as adverse forces that encourage us to abuse our bodies and not take care of them, to live lifestyles that are detrimental, and then to run to a doctor for quick relief, because that's also a lifestyle, that's also an adverse force. I want something that works really fast. I'm not going to wait for, a healing process. I don't have time. And really, it's a war zone inside. Sometimes we know it, sometimes we don't know it, but the body is constantly trying to support us. And what do? I've said a lot. I just want you to pause and think, what is the adverse force or belief in your life that may open the doorway to illness in your lives or your loved ones' lives? Because if we can look there and take a very small movement which helps us address that force and clean it out of our lives, then illness to wellness is one step closer. And that's the reason why we try to connect and share, isn't it? So we can help ourselves and each other.